she put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cock-a-crow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cock-a-crow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck-a-qua. Cock-a-crow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck-a-qua. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now a come home. Inaga jackass yard for fetch the load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side. A Rexy and Rover from the farm, them a come. Sun a go down but up the river. Some washing clothes, some folks are bathing at the water. Fisherman, they catch them a bring. From a canoe boat, man, them start offloading. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Lokonani. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Bangameri. Listen to this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. Them children glad when the weekend come. Out in the yard, them all gather round. Some a play catcher, some making house from straw. Two who come later, a grandma or grandpa. All a sit down just a wait. Moonlight so bright, it's just the right time to listen story or to say a little nursery rhyme. Grandpa voice a echo in the night as he tell the tale. Some pick me a there with fright. Oh, Ligan, Mungeza, Massa Kurma, Bura, Nancy, even Watamuma. Oh, Ligan, Mungeza, Massa Kurma, Bura, Nancy, even Watamuma. Yeah, man, that's the true story that tell the people about life in the country, life in the country.
That little ditty we used to torment our teachers with when we were kids goes something like this. Onward, upward, Mary had a go. Day by day she tied it to a rope, till at length they got past the rope, and Miss Mary had to run behind it. We had a lot of fun with that, but do you actually know how beautiful these words are? Here's the Song of Guyana's Children by W. Hawley Bryant. Born in the land of the mighty Roraima, land of great rivers and far-stretching sea, so like the mountains, the sea and the river, great, wide and deep in our lives would we be. Onward, upward may we ever go, day by day in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana sons and daughters can be. Born in the land of Kaijur, shining splendor, land of the palm tree, the croton and fern, we would possess all the virtues and graces, we all the glory of goodness would learn. Onward, upward, may we ever go, day by day, in strength and beauty grow, till at length we each of us may show what Guyana sons and daughters can be.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cockcrow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cockcrow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cockcrow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day I back down, me now I come home. Inaga, jackass yard for fetchy load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side, Alexi and Rover.
All right. Hey, I thought I was going to miss it for a quick second, but we are ready to rock and roll with you. Slight technical difficulties, and so I'm glad that I'm able to make it here. Hope you've had a great weekend, right? Putting aside the politics, I'm sure you would have done something really, really nice, maybe for yourself, maybe with your family. Whatever you did, we just hope that you've had an enjoyable weekend. Hey, we forget. Our operator just told me that we forget to run somebody's ads, right? Somebody's ads. So we might as well just run that, and then I'll be back once you share the link. You know what I mean? Do share the link. We appreciate it, and we'll get back because we have a packed program for you all. We'll be right back.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Kellyan Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
All right. We want to say good evening to the folks at Alistair Collins firm. Go out there and do support that business. We also, our operator, Lemon, doesn't waste any time. He's already on the ball. Good evening to the folks at Andrew's Supermarket as well. Just go down there and pack your bags and not anything else, but you've got to pay. Just when you reach at a cash register, just tell them that you heard it right here on 107.1 FM, 107.1 FM. And then there is one other business that we have to share with you. Once you share the link, of course, we appreciate that. And let me just say good evening to those folks who are logging in. Miss Booker, who is always here. And I said, we've got to give Miss Booker some sort of Christmas presents, right? And all the other folks who are listening, Candace Narayan. I've noticed Candace Narayan has invited her mother, Desiree. Give your mom give your mom a quick hello for me, right? I haven't seen your mom in a long, long time. So good evening to all of you. So those of you who are in Brooklyn, and if you are a nurse or whatever, you're looking for school uniforms, whatever you're looking for, head down to this store, uniform store. You just can't miss it at all. Our operator is trying to ensure that we get our connection in Guyana, kind of like a slow connection there. We're still awaiting Lemon to get that ball rolling. And so we're still taking that time to say good evening to all of you. Or maybe most of you heading down to Congress Place, right? We're the, what is it? Where the fun is Congress Place, because the Congress is coming up. The Congress is coming up. Something we're going to want to talk to you about that. The PNCR's Congress is coming up sometime in December, and the race is really, really getting hot. It is getting hot because three of the main contenders, they have already declared their candidacies, right? Three of the main contenders. We have Van West Charles and Dr. Van West Charles, Richard Van West Charles. We're hoping to have Mr. Van West Charles this evening for a few minutes later down in the program. And this is what Mr. Van West Charles, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, is saying. And now this is interesting. This is very interesting. I know some of you are going to get in your ricketick, so to speak. I repeat, I know some of you will get in your ricketics. But before you get into your ricketics, let's thank you guys for sharing the link, right? If you haven't yet shared the link, I'm sure that you will share the link. And if you don't share the link, well, you know what's going to happen. Good. Now, here is this headline. Dr. Richard Van West Charles has decided to take out a political dagger and wipe Aubrey Compton Norton, and this other guy, Roysdale Ford, with it. So the battle has started. Real battle. I'm not talking. I'm not talking about mud battle. I'm talking about the real battle. REAL, real battle. This is not an easy walk over for anybody. This is not an easy race. I repeat, and I want you guys to, you're not going to see me, so you wouldn't be able to read my lips. This is not an easy walk over for anybody. Again, I repeat, the race is not being decided on Facebook. Again, I repeat, the race is not the race for the leadership of the People's National Congress is not being decided on Facebook, because somebody can win the Facebook race and lose the real race. And the real race is when it comes to the Congress on that day, where members, bona fide members, are allowed to vote, to cast a vote for whoever they want as their next leader of the People's National Congress. It is done on the ground, not on Facebook. And Facebook doesn't win race. Facebook doesn't win race. And I agree with Ms. Booker. I agree with her. Ms. Booker has a horse in the race. Most of you guys have a horse in the race. But at the end of the day, what happens? It is politics, yes. Opponents will be fighting against each other. They will be doing whatever that is necessary to galvanize support. Thank you, Avril Goodman. Good evening to you. You know, whoever they are going to. But, I've noticed a certain Boolean tactics, and it is not going to work. At least it is not going to work on 107.1 FM. It is not going to work towards me. And I don't want anybody to feel that they can bully me into coming out to say that I support X person because they support that person. So if you support Joseph Frederick Harmon, do not come after me and try to bully me to support Joseph Frederick Harmon. No, don't do that. If you support Van West Charles, do not bully me into supporting Van West Charles. If you support Aubrey Compton Norton, then that's it. Then that's it. You know what I mean? Then that's it. Do not come and bully me to support a candidate because you like that candidate. Now, I may eventually like a candidate. I don't know. May eventually. I just don't know. I don't know who else is getting into the race. I don't know. Are they others? I have noticed others have indicated that if they are nominated, they will run. I don't know who those others are, but whomever those others are, they definitely will have to show a track record of working with the people and doing something to empower people. People don't feel that they should jump in the race, to be in the race sake and feel as though that they have what it takes to be a leader, just like that, just jump off of a coconut branch, vroom, whoosh, and say they want to be leader just like that. For me, it is not going to work. So do not come with your bullying tactics at all. All right. So for those of you, if you support Aubrey Compton, support him. It is your right. It doesn't mean that I'm against any of the three candidates. It doesn't mean that. And those are the three top candidates. So let's not be fooled. They are the three top candidates. Anybody else, maybe if Walter Lawrence decides to get in the race, then it's going to get interesting. But anybody else, it's just, like back in the days, you just jump on the bus, you're going on an excursion, a political excursion. Anybody else? This is not to disrespect anybody else who are hoping to be nominated. And then when they are nominated, then I see you. Hinta Benina Kwashiba Tech Notice. Good. You guys are getting it there, right? Hinta Beniba. Do not come and bully me. Right? I've noticed a good friend of mine saying that because MPs have endorsed Joseph Harmon, that those MPs should be boycott those MPs. Since when we got to that level of politics? Since when we got to the level of politics where we become so intolerant that if someone supports Aubrey Norton and you don't like it, then you have to cuss out that person who is supporting Aubrey Norton. Or if you don't support Aubrey Norton, then a bunch of Aubrey Norton supporters on Facebook, right, are going to curse out other people because they don't see Aubrey as that candidate. Now, I'm not saying that Aubrey is the guy, neither am I saying that Aubrey is not the guy, right? I'm watching. I have my binoculars and I'm watching the race. But do not bully people because they do not support your candidate. If they don't support your candidate, so be it. If they support Norton, fair enough. If they support Dr. Van West Charles, fair enough. If they support Harmon, they are entitled to do that. It is democracy. But they got some, they got some of Aubrey Norton supporters, or those who purport to support Aubrey Norton, and a lot of them are not in Guyana. I don't know what's there. They just want action. Now I'm not running to blame individuals because they want action, in Guyana, certain kind of action. Now, I'm not blaming folks because folks, indeed, they have a right. They want to see an opposition that will confront these lagu-bagus in office. Of course, they want to see that. So don't get me wrong. But some of those Aubrey Norton supporters, Aubrey, Aubrey will be my guest tomorrow night. Aubrey will be my guest tomorrow night. I don't want any one of you, and you guys got to see my face. You got to see my face. Seriously, you got to see my face. I don't want any one of you feel that I'm against any of the candidates. They have a right to run. You have a right to choose whomever you want to support. You have that right. Other people also have that right. They may see, some of you may see some things in Aubrey that you like. Some may not see something in Aubrey that they like. Some of you may see something in Harmon, that young boy, that you like. Some of you may see something that you don't like. And the same with Dr. Van West Charles. So it doesn't mean that because, coming back to 107 point, or coming back to me as the host here, it doesn't mean because you're not seeing me talking or saying that Aubrey's the guy, Aubrey's the guy. No, I can't. And I'm not going to say that. Neither am I going to say Van West Charles is the guy or Harmon is the guy. I'm not going to say that just yet. I'm just not going to say that. But I don't want people to feel that they could bully other people. You know, like this is how I feel about some, and this is not being disrespectful, but some of the Aubrey Norton supporters on Facebook. It's like, if you don't support Aubrey, this is how these people want to treat you. It's like, wait a minute. Again, I want you to, and some of you who support Aubrey and behaving in this manner as though you want to bully people, bulldoze people, fight down people, beat down people, that kind of politics is not going to work. In 2021, it's not going to work. Rethink your strategy, please. It's not going to work. Now let's get back to Dr. Van West Charles and what he said, because they have some other stuff that I want to talk to you guys about. It says here, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, he's saying that he was in the trenches. Van West Charles knocks Norton Ford for Johnny Come. In other words, they're Johnny Come lately. Now Ford is not running, so I don't know why Dr. Charles knocked Ford. Poor Ford got caught up in this because Ford is supporting Harmon. Ford is not running. So I don't know whether Dr. Richard Van West Charles meant Joseph Frederick Harmon is a Johnny Come lately. I don't know. But in terms of being in the trenches, yes, Dr. Van West Charles was in the trenches probably years ago. He has international exposure. He has international experiences, all these different things. But this other guy, Aubrey Norton, is saying that he's a grassroots man. Grassroots man in the trench, and Johnny Come lately. I don't know. These guys are something else. They're running for political office, right? And oftentimes you will find these sort of things. They will say these things about each other. They will. But who is grassroots? If we look at all of the three candidates, you can't say, at least I can't say, that one is more grassroots than the other. I wouldn't say this, that one is more grassroots than the others, because Remember, I've been there on the ground, and I know who is grassroots and who is not grassroots. I know who was in the trenches and who wasn't in the trenches, especially over the past 20 years. I can tell you who was in the trenches, and I can tell you who's grassroots and who's not grassroots. But I don't want to tell you that now. Let's go to this guy. This guy is Gokul Budu. Many of you may know Gokul Budu, right? Gokul Budu. Gokul Budu. Right? Gokul Budu. The PPP apparently wants to have Gokul Budu back there as Chief Elections Officer. And I want you guys to pay careful attention. To have Gokul Budu back at GCOM as the Chief Elections Officer. Now, who exactly is Gokul Budu? For some of you who may not know. Gokul Budu is the former Chief Elections Officer of GCOM. He is the former Chief Elections Officer of GCOM. And now the PPP, the installed PPP regime, wants to have him back. He has submitted along with 15 others, or maybe 16 or 17, but the list is growing. And this is not even funny. For this guy to be so brave in wanting to submit his name, again I repeat, in wanting to submit his name again to become the Chief Elections Officer of GCOM. You guys should be paying careful attention to what is happening with this here. This is interesting. And now let me give you guys a brief rundown of Gokul Budu. PPP, dead PPP. Can't run away from that. I've noticed some of you describing him as some other stuff in the comment section. Some of you might be very close to whatever it is. I've noticed also that Ingrid Carter and some of you guys are shocked that this is what the PPP wants to do, put this guy back there as Chief Elections Officer. They may have some other folks. Now I've noticed a bit of distraction with some trench crappos, and one of the things that we don't do is deal with distractions. And so I appreciate that our operator would do the honorable thing and put them wherever they have to, put them in the trenches. Now, Gokul Budu has been there as Chief Elections Officer, and his actions, a lot of his actions during elections time were questionable. Let us take, for example, in 2006. In 2006, Gokul Budu was actually caught with his pants down. And you know what I mean, right? Was caught with his pants down as he miscalculated, maybe deliberately. We don't know, it hasn't been proven, but we can read between the lines. He miscalculated the seats for the votes for Region 10. And in the end, he awarded Sam Hines a seat for Region 10. After Sam Hines was awarded that seat in Region 10, guess what? They found out that Sam Hines didn't win any seat in Region 10. And by that time, Gokul Budu already did what he had to do. Calculated the votes, submitted it, and that was the end of it. And so because of what this guy Gokul Budu did, because of what he did, Sam Hines sat in that seat as a member of parliament illegally for 5 years as a result of this guy, Gokul Budu. That's precisely what happened. That is exactly what Gokul Budu did. And he awarded the PPP that seat that was stolen from the people of Linden. Stolen from the people of Linden. In 2006, that is. No big protest, no big nothing, because at that time, the leader of the PNC, Mr. Robert Corbyn was probably comfortable with that. He didn't kick up a stink. He didn't say much. There was nothing at all. And so the PNC, the main opposition party headed by Robert Corbyn, Robert Orlando Corbyn, a Linden man, mind you, Linden man. So if Aubrey wins this nomination for leader of the PNCR, if he wins, mind you, then he will become the second Lindener in that position. The second Lindener in that position. We will get back to that a moment about Robert Corbyn's leadership style that got a lot of question marks hanging over it, mind you. So back to this guy. Robert Corbyn and the PNC, sorry, did nothing to confront this guy here at all. Nothing. So move on now. 5 years later, this very guy, Gokul Budu, I repeat, this very guy, Gokul Budu, attempted to give the PPP a majority under, and for those trench crappos who love to talk about rigging, who love to talk about PNC and rigging and APNU, AFC rigging and all of these things. All of these things. I hope they're watching. I hope they're listening. Because these are the facts. Look at the 2006 elections. A seat was stolen by the PPP. Stolen. Why shouldn't we just assume that the entire elections was actually stolen in 2006 and given to the PPP? When in fact they stole a seat. They got caught stealing one seat. That's one that they got caught with. And who was the chief elections officer? This guy, Gokul Budu. Gokul Budu. Not Mingo. Not Lowen Field. Not Roxanne Myers. Not Carol Joseph. Not Vola Lawrence. But this guy, Gokul Budu. Oh yes, Gokul Budu. You guys can repeat after me. Gokul Budu, right? Gokul Budu was the chief elections officer in 2006 when the PPP stole a seat from the AFC and handed that seat to Samuel Hines, who was prime minister, a Region 10 seat. He sat there for 5 years on a seat that was stolen by the PPP and handed to him. Mingo wasn't there. Mingo didn't steal nothing. So these folks want to talk about rigging. Now let's move on now. In 2011, the same thing. Donald Ramotar, the presidential candidate, was actually declared the winner. We don't know whether he won or not, but he was declared the winner. He was declared the winner. And this guy was the chief elections officer. The chief elections officer, he was there, this guy. When they declared that Donald Ramotar won the presidency by a majority, one seat majority, it was declared. And it was this guy who made that declaration, the chief elections officer. You guys don't want to see my facial expression, right? But it was this guy who made that declaration that Donald Ramotar won a majority, of course, by one seat. Lo and behold, after word got to the opposition, the then opposition commissioners, I believe it was Vincent Alexander, who put his hands up immediately and said, no, we got to have a recount of a certain vote or whatever. And upon that recount, guess what happened? This guy was caught again with his pants down. It turned out that the PPP didn't get a majority. In fact, what they attempted or what they did was to give the PPP, Donna Ramatar, a one-seat majority. It turned out that Donna Ramatar didn't win a one-seat majority. It was a minority government. So when these trench crappos want to talk about rigged elections, the question is, do they know what they're talking about? Are they serious? Can they say these things with a serious face about rigged elections? Look at what happened with the 1997 elections. There was an elections petition brought by Esther Pereira on behalf of the PNCR. And guess what? The court never heard that elections petition until 4 years after. 4 years after, you know what happened? The court declared, of course, Claudette Singh was the judge. Claudette Singh declared the 1997 elections to be null and void. It wasn't. And so they had to call snap election, so to speak. Well, after they would have abused Guyanese she vitiated the elections. Sorry. And so after that, that is when in 2001, March 2001, we had elections in Guyana. So when the PPP folks, when the trench crappos want to talk about rigged elections, I don't think they know what they're talking about. I just don't think. I've just given the evidence of all of the rigging and the thieving of an elections. You just got that. And in 2001, I can put my head on the block that the PPP lost that election. They lost that election, and Hoyt was actually the winner, because it was a miracle when people heard that the PPP won in 2001. No, that wasn't. Something was fishy about the 2000, something was fishy about the 97 elections, fishy about the 2001 elections, fishy about, very, very fishy about the 2006 elections, and extremely fishy of the 2011 elections. But by the time the coalition got to them in 2015, they couldn't continue with whatever they were doing at GCOM. They just couldn't continue doing that at all. So in 2020, guess what happened? They know the tricks. They know what to do and what not to do. Hence the ballot boxes. Hence, Anil, I think up on the East Coast, he was confronted. And then we don't know what happened. We already know what 47 ballot boxes without statutory documents, and all these different things happened during the 2020 elections. And guess what? Most of the evidence, or all of the evidence that we are aware of, i.e., what I just showed you there and even more, 47 ballot boxes in one area. And those 47 ballot boxes amount to about 12 to 13,000 votes. 12 to 13,000 votes. That's almost 2 seats. So when you look at the other areas with missing oaths of identity, many of you know what happened in region 2 or region 1, I believe, where the returning officer didn't submit his documents until a month, 2 months after. And some of those documents in the ballot boxes were missing. Statutory books and all these things, they were missing. Now let's get back to the 47 ballot boxes. The 47 ballot boxes on the east coast of Demerara. If those ballot boxes amount to about 12 to 13,000 votes, just imagine the skullduggery in other regions that could amount to a couple thousand votes more, which would take that to about, maybe let's say 15 to 20,000 votes. That is 3 to 4 seats. 3 to 4 seats. How many seats the PPP claim that they won by? One, right? Of course, Schumann is squatting there on another seat. So they have basically a 2-seat majority. A 2-seat majority. 2-seat majority. And I've explained to you the rigging. No need for us to go on more, right? I've explained to you the rigging. So when the PPP folks come and talk about rigging, when they do come and talk about rigging, this is how we ought to be looking at them. Are you serious? They couldn't possibly be serious to talk about rigging. I don't know. I just don't know. 41 minutes after, what is it? 9 o'clock. We were hoping, our operator, we were hoping to have for a couple of minutes, Richard Van West Charles, Dr. Richard Van West Charles with us. I don't know what happened with Dr. Van West Charles. I know he had a meeting, and God in heaven knows whatever happened to our guest, well, for a few minutes this evening. But let us get back to some other news on the ground. Ballot boxes, dead voters, and all these sort of things. Look at this. This is a coffin washed up on the foreshore of somewhere up, as we say, topside, Skeleton side. And lots of speculations. Those bottles have been there. We're hearing, we seem to have a lot of, archaeologists and all these things up on the quarantine to know that this coffin, oh my gosh, I'm pointing at this coffin. And you know what they say, small days growing up, you point at coffin and graves and, oh man, let me bite my fingers, right? So I don't know. Some of you might be experts. Can you say what you think of this? I don't know. This got to be a tall guy. You know, it's got to be a tall guy or a tall woman. Look at those bottles. Thank you, Penelope Howard, 71 Village. It just popped up. They got bones all over, and people are just treating it as though it's a regular something. It's a regular something. Nobody picked it up. No Ministry of Health official. We haven't heard anything. No Ministry of Health official popped up there so that they can have some tests on the skeletal remains to find out how old those skeleton remains are, what's in the bottle, you know. But, you know, they got some guy, and he's open a bottle, and, you know, some things should just jump out, and some sharp things should just jump out and run in a taxi and go straight to Rob Street by Freedom House. And you know what? Just get a dance rolling right there at Freedom House. But, you know, let's take a look at the wood, look at the coffin, how it was made. And I don't know what sort of wood is that. And look at the bottles. And that's got to be one tall guy. Really, really tall guy. I don't know. Somebody say all sort of things walking now. Jack Dale is not that tall, so it's not like it's anybody imitating Jack Dale and made something his size. He's just not that tall. So this cannot be a poppy show. That's why I'm saying that those bones need to be tested. Archaeologists need to step in and test those skeleton remains. They just need to do that so that we can get to the bottom of it. But that's just another bit of news, what's happening over in Guyana. And let's look at this here now. This caught my attention. And this is what oftentimes happen with a lot of politicians. When they're out of office, they claim a lot of things. And Biden is one of them. You know, A lot of us wanted to see the back of Trump, and rightly so. But here's what, according to CNN, that Trump likes to call CNN fake news. But here what CNN is saying. CNN is saying that Biden has so far spent more time away from the White House than his three predecessors did at this point in the presidency. Says Biden escapes his White House gilded cage at a faster pace than Trump. Now, politicians, guys, if I'm on the program, how can I listen to what somebody is saying? You know, I'm on the program. I can't listen to what somebody else is saying. You know what I mean? But let's get back here. Let's get back here. Biden escapes the White House, right? When people want to get into office, they are going to go around. They are going to move around, and they are going to go into communities and talk nice talk, sweet talk, and so forth. And I can't believe that this here, that Biden is not spending a lot of time in the White House. I don't know what is happening. Is it because of the pandemic? I don't know. But careful with politicians and sweet talk, right? All right, let's head back to Guyana now. You know, the election's coming up, and people want an opposition that could not just confront the PPP with boots on the ground only, because confrontation comes in different levels of confrontation. But they need to see a more active opposition. And I agree with them. Those of you who share that view, I agree with you guys 100%. But I don't know, who is that person? Who exactly is that person? Some of you seem to be on Facebook, believe that this guy, Norton, is the antivirus guy. Norton is the antivirus guy that is capable of dealing with this virus. And now let me repeat. Some of you are of the view that Norton, the antivirus guy, has what it takes to deal with this virus. And now Aubrey Norton is going to be on tomorrow. Evening. And let me just make this clear. Before I continue with that. Let me make this clear. Whilst I do not have any horse in the race, I'm watching all of them. I'm listening to them. I'm listening to folks who are claiming to be grassroots and take the party back to grassroots. It's their PNC. And some are talking about in the trenches and so forth and so on. It's their party. And some are talking about unifying and getting, those are good talks. I like all three of those talks. Grassroots, back to grassroots, unifying the party, and getting outside support base as well. Not just party supporters, not just grassroots people are going to win in elections. And so it's just more than that. So you guys, for a moment, don't think that because I may not be supporting your candidate means that I'm against that candidate. I'm not, right? However, what we have planned here, management of 107.1 FM, what we are going to do is before I say what we are going to do, here is this propaganda, and it's nonsensical. Isola Allen, no photograph. I've seen you a couple of times on the show. Welcome. We appreciate that you watch the show and listen to me. You're saying I heard that PPP want Harmon. Why if it is true? That's propaganda, right? That is just outright propaganda. Propaganda. So I rubbish that. That is propaganda. Propaganda. So I don't want anybody to come to say that this is true and this is what the PPP is planning to. It is propaganda. And I'll ask Aubrey Norton when he comes on tomorrow whether this propaganda is coming from his camp. I don't know, but I'll ask him that. Look, man, it's dotishness, but PPP. And look how Isola put this thing here, Isola Allen. I like your style. I like how you're coming around in a very diplomatic way to say that you heard, because you want other people to spread this out and put that out there, that I heard that PPP want Harmon. Why if it is true? Propaganda. Downright propaganda. And y'all falling for this propaganda. And some of you who support Aubrey Norton love that sort of propaganda because it plays into y'all, right? Y'all love that. But I'll ask Aubrey tomorrow whether he's aware of that propaganda. But I'll tell you guys what, I don't believe. It's dotishness. It's propaganda. It's propaganda. Y'all stop with this propaganda, right? Y'all stop with the propaganda, man. Y'all stop with it, right? Look at the candidates where policies are concerned, where what they can do to enhance your life. What are their views on maybe education? What are their views on youth empowerment? Then those who have been in politics for a while and in the trenches and grassroots, ask them what evidence they have in terms of their track record on X, Y, or Z. That is all. That is all that is how we have to look at the candidates. We can't look at the candidates and say that this one going to confront the PPP, this one going to confront Jack Deere. Is that all you guys are looking for? Who can confront Jack Deere? Or are you looking for a leader whose policies are good enough not only for the party, not only for unifying the party, because the party is all over the place right now, and looking for a leader outside of those two elements in terms of bringing crossover votes, in terms of attracting members of the business community, etc., etc. Those are all elements that will be able to win an elections. To depend just on grassroots support base is not sufficient. And to say that somebody will confront Jack Deere is not sufficient. I'm not saying that it is not part and parcel of what needs to be done, but it is not sufficient. So when you look at a candidate, you must be able to look at a candidate beyond just that one thing that we are looking for, and maybe from an emotional stuff. Yes, confront, right? Confront. It's more than that. So when you look at those three main candidates, there might be other sideshows popping up, but when you look at all the candidates, sideshows or not, when you look at all of the candidates, and whether you want to support a sideshow or not, it's okay, right? Okay, sorry about that. Look at what they stand for. Would they be a good leader for your kids? Would they be a good leader for you as a pensioner? Would they be a good leader for you as a woman in terms of women's rights and all these things? Will they be able to sustain the economy and all these things, job creation, is that person the right candidate? And let's not jump out because of emotions. We saw, and let me talk with you guys, we saw the emotions and the outburst in 2002 when Robert Orlando Corbin, became the leader. Of course, he was the chairman. Then when Mr. Hoyt died in 2002, December 22nd, 2002, Mr. Robert Corbin became the leader. And I'm speaking based on experience. And going way back then, almost 20 years ago, I heard the very sentiments being expressed. Yeah, boy. Yeah. Corbin gonna deal with them, boy. Corbin is a grassroots man. Corbin was in the trenches. Remember, Corbin was in the trenches. He don't make joke, He don't make joke. He gonna deal with Jack Deere. He gonna deal with the PPP. He gonna deal with them. Sorry, I made my mouth like that, man. I'm sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I'm a bit mischievous. Mischievous guy, Benchop. Mark, you a mischievous guy. No, let's get back to Corbin. All of you older folks there, not the young ones. Corbin is the man. Corbin is the man. Corbin is the man. You got to deal with them. You got to deal with them. So every time there's an election, is that what we got to look for? Who's going to deal with them? Corbin going to deal with them, right? Corbin is the man. He's a trench man. He's a grassroots man. He's this. Corbin got in there. Sorry about that. I'm a mischievous guy. So Corbin was the man. And then he got in there, and Jack Deere got away with a lot of things because of that same man, that same Robert Corbin, who many of you guys thought was the man to confront Jack Deere. They're going to deal with the PPP. Yes, he's the man. Yeah. Theodore Adams, I say yeah, because that was a saying out in Linden. Yeah. Right? Yeah, everybody, Corbin is the man. Corbin is we buy. Yes, comrade leader. Grassroots man. Oops, no pun intended on the grassroots man stuff. Right? And then, rays of all these things happen. Opposition leader get a big pension. Jack Deere get a big pension. They changed the constitution or attempted to in a lot of different things. The 2/3 majority started to come around, and the third term proposal. People start to get rich. Nobody got time with the grassroots people. Nobody got time in going in the trenches any longer to represent the people. So it appears that obviously we know Jack Deere is not a politician. He uses politics to enrich himself. So he looks at it from a business standpoint for himself and his cronies. Did Corbin get caught up with that as well? The same guy that you guys thought was grassroots enough to deal with the PPP, to confront Jack Deere and deal with him? I don't know. I just don't know. But again, we're back again with the same thing. The same grassroots thing. The same in the trench thing. Who been in the trench more than who? Who grassroots more than who? I don't know, man. I'm not tickled by that, mind you. I've noticed someone is asking, probably is the first time watching the show. Curtis Lutchman is asking, who am I supporting? And I have answered that question on so many occasions. So many occasions. You know what I mean? So many occasions. At this time, I have, and I'll repeat and I'll speak slowly. Maybe I should speak like Jack Dio. At this time, I don't have any horse in the race, none whatsoever, right? So, and I know all three of them. All three of them, I have nothing personal against none of them. In fact, getting and there we go again. If you Piri or whatever your name is, if you think Harman is useless, that is a matter of your opinion, right? Some folks can say the person that you're supporting is useless. How would you feel? How would you feel? You know, and then there's some folks who may say that some folks who may say that Harman did a lot of good things for them. Some may say otherwise. It all depends, mind you. It all depends. Look at this other guy, Gladstone Matthews, Mark-like friend. What sort of friend Mark like? What sort of friend? You tell me. If I know that, and there's nobody who could stop me from saying that I support X, Y, or Z person. I just don't have a horse in the race. How much longer should I continue to say that? Let the people, let those who have PNC membership cards, let them go and decide that. Let them decide who they want to be the leader. I mean, I may have an opinion. As of now, I have no opinion. I don't like one over the other, neither do I hate any. All I'm saying is let the people decide. And if come closer down to the elections time, the Congress time, if I want to offer my opinion, I will offer my opinion. But as of now, I have no opinion. What is wrong with saying that? I'm trying to break this down for you guys to understand that I've heard it all before. And I'm not going to get caught up with hearing the same things over again about trenches and grassroots and all these things. No, I'm not going to. Simple as that, right? And so somebody also said earlier that the PPP wants Harman there. Well, Mr. Norton himself said that he knows Mark Phillips well. They're from Linden. He knows some of them as well in the PPP. Should people say that Aubrey Norton, that the PPP wants Aubrey Norton because he knows Mark Phillips and these other guys, Lindeners and so forth? No, it will be wrong. It will be wrong for anyone to say that. Absolutely wrong. Okay? So just as it is wrong, I'm saying, not because I'm saying it is wrong for folks on the propaganda, but PPP want Harman there. You know, PPP want Harman there. No, I'm not batting for Harman at all. I'm not batting for anyone at this point in time. Right? That's all I'm saying to you guys. And all I want is for us to approach this in a civilized manner. Not run down each other's throat and cuss out people because they don't want to support a candidate that you're supporting. Members of parliament have a right to support whomever they want to support, whomever the candidate that they feel is the best candidate. That's all. If some MPs want to support Mr. Aubrey Norton, let them do that. If they want to support Mr. Harman, let them do that. If they want to support Dr. Van West Charles, let them do that. Gosh. But here's what we are doing here on 107.1 FM. We have reached out to all of the three main candidates to give them free airtime right here on 107.1 FM. Free airtime, 2 hours per week. 2 hours per week. We are giving them free of charge right here. Of course, we can do with the money. Sorry that I have to smile when I said that. Of course, we can do with the money, but we are not charging their campaign. And for those of you who feel that I don't like your candidate, y'all candidate that y'all like, Aubrey Norton, let me bring this to your attention. I spoke with Aubrey today. Aubrey was supposed to be on the show tonight, but I told him since he's on another program, it's okay. We'll have Aubrey Norton tomorrow night. Now, who would do such a thing to a candidate that he doesn't like? Who would do that? If I don't like Aubrey, I wouldn't invite them. I would give the candidate that I like all of the airtime. But we don't believe in that on 107.1 FM, at least not in this race. And so Mr. Aubrey Norton will have his own campaign show right here on Benchap Radio. And so we'll have to decide on a day and time for Aubrey Norton, free of charge. Mr. Aubrey Norton on the campaign trail right here on 107.1 FM. We've also invited Mr. Van West Charles, Dr. Van West Charles, to have his own campaign show free of charge right here on Benchap Radio. The same is extended to Mr. Joseph Harmon. The same. They are the three main contenders that we don't have a problem giving free airtime on about their campaign, to talk about their campaign, so that you, the listeners, can decide who is the best person for that position. Who is the best person? That is all. So the more we hear from the candidates, we all will be, or those who have to be, will be in a better position in terms of how to vote. Don't vote out of emotions and passion and all these things. Vote because Aubrey, Dr. Van West Charles, or Harmon will do something, not personally to you, but something to build your party, to make your party stronger, to revamp the youth arm of the PNC that has died many, many years ago. But there were still some young members struggling within the YSM. Make that stronger, because the youth arm of any party is important. I want to hear from these leaders during their time. What have they done to the YSM to make it stronger? What have they done for the women's arm of the PNC to make it stronger? Those are things that I want to hear. I'm not a voter, but I'm an observer. I watch and I support the coalition, yes. But I want to hear things that matter, not personally to me, that can benefit the entire country. Because at the end of the day, whomever becomes the leader of the party could possibly move on to become the presidential candidate and possibly the next president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. So we have to have proper discussions. We can't run away. We can't run away with this emotion kind of thing. It's going to get us in trouble, serious trouble. Now, Van West Charles has a lot of experience. He's been in the trenches. He has a lot of international exposure and experience as well. Is he the right guy for the job? We don't know yet. Harmon has a lot of experience as well. Is he the guy for the job? We don't know yet. Aubrey has never been, albeit he was a youth advisor, presidential youth advisor on the coalition, under David Granger's administration. Aubrey was the youth advisor. Maybe people would ask, what did you achieve as youth advisor? That is the only governmental post, apart from when he was many years ago when he was a foreign service officer in the UK. But that was a diplomatic post, of course, but we're talking about being there in the wheels of government. the only position that he has held was that of presidential advisor on youth empowerment. What has he done over the 5 years in terms of empowering youths and so forth in the country? Those are things that we want to hear, and other stuff. Somebody's saying here, Rachel Glasgow is saying to advocate for a woman. Now, I want to ask somebody, I've noticed somebody say here, Aubrey stole money. I highlighted that because I just want to say that we're not going to get into the mud on 107.1 FM, right? On those sort of allegations against anybody about who stole money and who this and who that, right? Let's not go that route, please. Let us not go that route. All right. Now, getting back to what someone, I'm sorry, I'm looking for that comment. I'm looking for that comment. And here's where I'm going to ask Rachel Glasgow, a woman. Who is that woman that is there? Who is that woman with leadership quality or qualities? Who is that woman with a track record? Who is that woman with political experience? Even if they don't have political experience, who is that woman that can move the party forward and possibly become president to move the country forward? Who is that woman? And don't tell me because somebody just popped on the scene the other day and you like them, that is sufficient, and that because that person happens to be a woman, that is sufficient. I don't know, and this is not knocking anybody. We were having an open discussion here. Who is that woman? That's all. So I'm looking at you guys. Marlon Young, it's okay, man. It's okay, but we don't want to be accusing anybody and these sort of things, right? Somebody saying Valda Lawrence. Valda Lawrence will indeed make a strong candidate. She's been around. She's been part of the women's arm of the PNCR. She has also been Minister of Social Services and Security. She was also Minister of Health. Well, let me break this down for you in terms of Minister of Health. She did a darn good job. That was able to save hundreds of lives in that country. As Minister of Health, Valda, under her stewardship, she was able to revamp the entire healthcare sector. Kudos to Valda Lawrence. And now, in that regards, Valda Lawrence showed leadership as Minister of Health. She demonstrated leadership with her team. Look at the health centers, look at the hospitals. And so, not everybody's perfect. But I believe I want to give Jack his jacket. And in this case, if Valda Lawrence were to throw her hat in the race, then the race will heat up. The race will get tough for a lot of those other three for those three candidates. It will get tough because Valda's track record, not perfect, mind you, not perfect, but in terms of her relationship with women's groups and so forth, some may like her, but some may not like her. But I'm talking strictly in terms of her track record as a female politician. Forget about the fictitious and frivolous charges against her and all these different things. Forget about those things. Valda Lawrence, for me, I believe, would make this race dead even, in a sense that it will checkmate almost all the three male candidates. It will checkmate them. Aubrey cannot run away with grassroots stuff anymore because Valda can claim grassroots as well. Norton can't run away with women's issues because Valda will shoot him down on that. In terms of being effective as a minister, Valda has a good track record. Now, it's basically up to Valda now, as of course is the case, to decide whether she wants to run or not. And if someone like Valda runs, a female, for the leadership of the party, then it even everything out for those other three candidates. But in my opinion, I don't think Miss Lawrence will enter the race. She will be nominated. She probably may run for some other office, but definitely not the leadership. That's just my opinion. She may very well become the chairwoman again. She may be re-elected as the chairwoman again. And now, somebody's saying that I'm trying hard to mess up the race. I'm offering an opinion. It's not to mess up anything. There's politics that we're talking about. And it's not to mess up the race at all. Right? It's just not to mess up the race. Some dotishness, but she was Minister of Health when little girls. Yeah, we understand all of that. So what are you blaming Valda for injection with 3 girls? She did. She swiftly called for an investigation. She swiftly dealt with the matter. She didn't kick it under the rug, Sean. She didn't. You know, she didn't. And here we go again. Some other person, Gladys Prasad, how are you? Good evening, is saying Valda is weak. She called off protest. So all the good things people do, you just throw them under the bus because of some rumor that she called off protest. I don't know whether she called off the protest. I don't know. I heard she called off the protest. See somebody else saying here, Mark, is Valda capable enough to handle Jack Dave? Y'all behaving as though Jack Dave is anybody tough to handle. I don't know why y'all think that Jack Dave is anybody. Jack Dave is a soft pop. Very, very soft. Very soft. Soft pop. You know, somebody's asking about Amanza. What's her name? Amanza Walton Desir. Amanza Walton. Is it Walton Desir? Amanza Walton Desir is fresh in politics and fresh in politics. Some of you have been asking for a fresh face, but for me, fresh face doesn't do the trick. And so Amanza will have to build her resume as a politician. There's not much to go by other than some debates in Parliament and so forth. But for me, I would probably prefer, and I don't know Amanza Walton personally, other than the first time. I know somebody said my slip is showing. The first time was when her name was announced as a candidate. Outside of that, I don't know Amansa Walton this year. And so, but I would, based on my opinion, that in another 5 years' time, then we can see a stronger Amansa in terms of work on the ground, empowering people and being out there and so forth. I just think that more needs to be done in that area. So I'm not really too up for Amansa Walton this year, mind you. My opinion. Maybe next time, but not this time. Somebody's mentioning brooms. People are entitled to get into the race, right? They're entitled to get in the race. You never know. You can't say that Obama was new. Obama was, he was elected. He was out there. He was out there in Chicago. He did his stuff in the streets. He hit the streets and all these different things he did. So, and then the other folks who are fighting for voters' rights in Stacey Abrams out in Atlanta. She's not an elected official, but she's out there. She's out there doing her thing, ensuring that people win in elections. It goes to show that you don't have to be in any office to do things. Go out there and empower your people. You don't have to be a member of parliament for these things and so forth. Somebody saying that, and this is where this person doesn't know much in terms of politics. He was a freshman as a senator, but he held other offices there in Chicago. He was part of street movement. He was there empowering people. He was walking the streets, and he has a track record. As a lawyer, he represented people pro bono and so forth. He had a track record. He might have been new to many folks when he entered the race, but he had a track record on the ground there in Chicago, working for the people and so forth. And that's why I'm saying in politics, he did so much. So whoever Piri is, Piri. Look, I've got to go because I've given you guys too much. Somebody's saying Ganesh for president. Ganesh himself would say to you guys that the time is not now. The time is not now for Ganesh. Just like the time is not now for others who want to be nominated and run. The time is just but this doesn't mean that they can't try a thing. People are entitled to try a thing. Let them try a thing. But Ganesh has endorsed his candidate. He believes that that Joseph Harmon is the guy. And so that is it. Some people are calling Sharma Solomon. And here is where, again, Sharma Solomon comes to mind. Sharma Solomon cannot run for any office, any position in the PNCR, none whatsoever, unless things have changed overnight. Sharma Solomon cannot run for any position within the PNCR because his membership card has not been renewed. And I want to ask some of these same persons who are running for the leadership of the party, what have they done to ensure that these people like Sharma Solomon and Vanessa Kissoon, would have been brought back into the party and reissued with their party card? If you're talking about healing the party, some of these candidates themselves, if you ask Solomon, years some of them didn't talk to Solomon. Years some of them didn't even talk to Vanessa Kissoon. And again, it's an elections time, so people. Let me see what Marla Alicock is saying. Mark, you're talking about track record. Ali had a track record, but he's presidents. Marla, you have a point, but remember he has been there and people knew of him regardless of his 19 charges and these sort of things. He was Minister of Housing and Water and these sort of things. So yeah, that's his track record. 19. He ended up with 19 fraud charges. But I got your point, Marlo. I do get your point. I do get your point. Right? We'll end with this. Desiree Albert is saying that Jack Deere is a downright trench crapper. We'll end with that. Now, tonight's program, some of you may, and as usual, some of you may agree with me, some of you may not agree with me. It is just my opinion that I offered. And at the end of the day, we're all entitled to our opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm 100% accurate, but it's just my opinion and how I feel. Nothing personal towards anybody, none of the candidates or whatever. I just offer my opinion, and it doesn't make sense that I sugarcoat things, at all. Somebody's asking, what about Aubrey Norton? I've known Aubrey over the years, and Aubrey says he's grassroots. He says he wants to become the next leader of the PNCR. And for now, all I will say, as I would toward the other candidates, the serious candidates, I wish them all the best. But for now, I've got to go. And again, yes, I wish them all the best. And at the end of the day, we'll see who will be the winner. It's a tough race. It's a very tough race. It's a tough call. It's not an easy walkover like some of you may think. It's just not an easy walkover at all. It's a tough race. I've got to go. 27 minutes after 10. God bless you. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. My guest, Aubrey Compton Norton. Together, we will sit and have cook-up together for 1 hour. Aubrey Norton. Have a good night. God bless you. And thank you all for tuning in.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cockacrow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they.
It's hard to be at peace with the ones who are so discard. It's hard. Them have a knife in your back and them smile it so broad. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. I never want to take your glory, Lord. Send your angels to encamp around about me and stand guard. To envy is so easy and to love it is so hard. Let me work for your glory and not for the award. Don't make me ever get caught up in the scream and the applause. And go talk about the blessing and not talk about the Lord. All these things are vanity. I need your reward. Let me be real. Don't put on no facade. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them give me flesh when the crowd a shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. Sticks and stones can break my bones and words son. Cause you know my work is not done. Lord, I need that endurance just to finish this race that I run. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. And help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd is shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. You tell me if stand firm, cause every little plan you have a confirm. I know them evil plan turn. In a darkness me a the lantern. So help me to deal with the ones that who said them love me when them really don't. Jesus, help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield.